And true to his word, Congressman Peter Myers is online with me. He's the Michigan 3rd District Republican from the 3rd District. And I asked him to come on to, instead of all of us saying what we believe is going on with his votes on the impeachment that we covered in a previous interview, and now this January 6th commission, and the questions that a lot of you who listen to me know I have when it comes to all these other things that are happening out there. I asked for Congressman Meijer to come on air, and he graciously accepted, unlike some others that are out there that I've asked to come on air and don't even get back to me. So welcome back to the Live with Rank show, Congressman Meijer. Good morning, Congressman Meijer, and again, thank you.
No, I appreciate coming back on. Right? You say jump, I say how high. You say come on the air, I say when do you want me?
Well, I hope that's true, and it's been that way so far, and I hope we continue that way. You know that there's tough questions that are going to be asked on my type of show, and what I would like to do, I only have this one segment, so I have some questions I want to get to, give you the opportunity to better express yourself to many of your constituents who are here, other than the snippets or whatever they hear out there on CNN or Facebook or in papers or what have you, or even from me. And then I'd like, for a few minutes at the end, I did call and check on you, and I'm hearing from Calhoun County, the Calhoun County Republican Party, that you have been doing some really good things for the district. And in fact, they said Justin Amash was here for however many years and did nothing. Spoke the word, talked the word, but did nothing for the district, and they spoke very highly of you. I do my research. That's probably one thing you do know about me, Peter. Well, as you know, the first time last time you came on, maybe the time before, it was about that vote you made concerning the impeachment of President Trump. And really quickly, because I haven't had you on since then, I know that you were concerned that his words, or you thought his words incited, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, incited what happened that day. And, people can go back. I'm going to put this out on a podcast later. Those will be the links to our previous discussion about this. But later it's then found out that from the FBI that these plans to do what these people did, not all of them, but many of them, probably the more destructive of them, had been planned prior to the speech. What do you say to people, Congressman Meijer, who say you jumped the gun, you made a decision before you had all the facts in front of you, and then facts unfolded later that said that these groups were planning on doing what they did prior to the speech?
Well, I say that doesn't change anything. I mean, the fact of the matter is the speech that was given, that was not the sole rationale, right? That was, you had to view that in context, and the context was months and months of November 3rd was a landslide victory for Donald Trump that was stolen, and January 6th was the day to stop that steal, right? That's why folks came out to D.C. That's why there was a crowd that was gathered. That's why a lot of these groups, especially the Oath Keepers and the 3 Percenters, that's why they were planning violence that day, was because of that, all that had been built up. And many of them felt that they were doing so at the insistence, at the encouragement, or under the guidance of the president. Now, was that what the president intended? I don't know. But that was what happened. And to me, that was a sincere dereliction of responsibility by a public official, let alone, endangering the life of Vice President Pence and the lack of response that occurred in the hours after folks started to break into the Capitol.
All right. Now that moves us then to your recent vote. You were one of 35 Republicans who voted for this January 6th commission. And the concern I and others have around there are twofold. One, this would be the 5th investigation into this. When you look at the other investigations that are out there, or I think 2 by the one by the DOJ, yeah, right, and 2 by the DOJ, whatever it is, right? And on top of it, it's political in nature. Anytime there's a commission, by one party or a party or both parties is all political in nature. And I, as many people out there, believe this is completely political, partisan. And here's Karl Rove the other day.
Commission of a 1-6 commission is a highly partisan construct put forward by the aggrieved Speaker of the House of Representatives.
And that's our concern, and many of us are wondering why you
no, it was suggested by Liz Cheney,
agreed to some.
We have had the conference meeting. I am absolutely committed, as I said last night, as I said just now to my colleagues, that we must go forward based on truth. We cannot both embrace the big lie and embrace the Constitution. And going forward, the nation needs it. The nation needs a strong Republican Party. The nation needs a party that is based upon fundamental principles of conservatism. And I am committed and dedicated to ensuring that that's how this party goes forward, and I plan to lead the fight to do that. I will do everything I can to ensure that the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office. We have seen the danger that he continues to provoke with his language. We have seen his lack of commitment and dedication to the Constitution, and I think it's very important that we make sure whomever we elect is somebody who will be faithful to the Constitution.
Oh, I have to interrupt here at this point. Rank is misinforming the audience there in his question to Peter Meijer. The proposal for a commission to look into the January 6th riot is following Republican Liz Cheney, Representative Liz Cheney, who's a Republican. Should I repeat that, Rank, like 3 times? The January 6th commission, or to look into the January 6th riot, the commission is an independent, bipartisan commission. It was proposed by Liz Cheney, who's a Republican, and it's patterned after the 9/11 commission. And it would be bipartisan. It would be, I think, equal number of Republicans and Democrats, blah, 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 blah. So, and by the way, the rioters wanted to kill, didn't they want to hang Mike Pence, who's a Republican, Rank? Does it bother you, Rank, that they wanted to hang the vice president? No, apparently not, because you have no morals. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ranting. I better stop. Yeah, so I'll say it one more time. The January 6th Independent Bipartisan Commission was proposed by Liz Cheney, Republican of Wyoming, not by Nancy Pelosi. Thanks, Rank.
That's going to be so political, and that was put out there only to be able to continue to harm Republicans into next year.
Well, and Rank, this is where I think we are completely missing the forest for the trees. So to clear away a couple of things, the bipartisan independent commission that had been negotiated between Republicans and Democrats, right? And John Katko from New York, he's the ranking member on Homeland Security. He had taken Republican concerns, what the caucus wanted out of a mission, and negotiated with the Democrats, and frankly, got all of them, right? It's an equal split, Republicans and Democratic members, 2 appointed by the Speaker of the House, 2 appointed by the Minority Leader, 2 appointed by the President of the Senate, the Majority Leader, 2 appointed by the Minority Leader in the Senate.
Who's going to be the chair of who appoints the chair of the committee?
The chair of the committee is appointed by the Democrats and
right.
the vice chair by the Republicans.
And
the hiring done in consultation between the 2 parties. But let me just say, any subpoena needs to have bipartisan agreement. And the challenge here, right, is if this bipartisan commission, which, by the way, Nancy Pelosi does not want. She wants the original form that she had, which was modeled after the Benghazi Commission, and that would have had to be bicameral. So it had to be House and Senate just by the nature. That was where the ball was. If she can turn around and say, listen, we gave the Republicans a chance to have this commission, and we gave the Senate a chance to have this commission, they said no. what she's going to do is turn around and pull a Benghazi, right? She's going to have, this is not, doing away with the bipartisan commission isn't doing away with the commission. It just means whatever commission Nancy Pelosi decides to create, A, will be able to subpoena folks without a single Republican agreeing to it, and B, can go on for as long as it wants, because the independent commission had a mandate to end by December 31st. Right, the Benghazi Commission lasted over 2.5 years.
Oh, December 31st, but there could be committee hearings and testimony going on until the next year. The report is supposed to be done, and you know, when will Nancy Pelosi?
We have had the conference meeting. I am absolutely committed, as I said last night, as I said just now to my colleagues, that we must go forward based on truth. We cannot both embrace the big lie and embrace the Constitution. And going forward, the nation needs it. The nation needs a strong Republican Party. The nation needs a party that is based upon fundamental principles of conservatism. And I am committed and dedicated to ensuring that that's how this party goes forward, and I plan to lead the fight to do that. I will do everything I can to ensure that the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office. We have seen the danger that he continues to provoke with his language. We have seen his lack of commitment and dedication to the Constitution, and I think it's very important that we make sure whomever we elect is somebody who will be faithful to the Constitution.
Pelosi ever stick to rules, her own rules? All right, before we run out of time, real quickly then where, and this is my concern, there's been so many insurrectionist activities.
Oh, I have to interrupt here again. This is, I think, what you call a red herring. A riot at a Justice Center does not equal a riot at the United States Capitol when Congress is in session to determine the winner of the presidential election. Those two are not equivalent, but I think that Peter Meijer will point that out to Rank, because Rank doesn't understand the difference between just a riot at a Justice Center and an insurrection at the national Capitol while Congress is in session.
By Biden and Democrat supporters, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, counter-protesters. Just yesterday, they tried to burn down a Justice Center. Why aren't you and the other 34 and the rest of your colleagues calling for a commission looking into that? Because it appears that you guys care about what happens to a place where you work, but not where others work.
Yes, Peter Meijer, who is a congressman, is concerned about the security at the Capitol. We don't want another riot. Like, let's say we have the election in 2022, and Donald Trump starts to say, the election was stolen again. It was stolen again. And I want you people, I'm going to call a rally in Washington, D.C., and we're going to stop the steal, the second steal. So we could have a riot in 2022 if Donald Trump doesn't like the results, and if WBCK doesn't like the results. We could have a riot in 2024 if the Republicans lose the presidential election and they don't like the results, and Donald Trump is holding rallies and then telling the rally to go to the Capitol, to march to the Capitol. That's a different thing than Black Lives Matter rioting in Portland. Portland is not the capital of the United States. So what was Rank's question again? There's no equivalency between the rioting in some cities and the president calling for a rally, and then the rally, invading the Capitol. Okay, the Black Lives Matter did not invade the Capitol. Black Lives Matter did not stop the business of Congress. The Black Lives Matter did not stop the counting of the electoral vote and the certification of the presidential election. No, Black Lives Matter didn't do any of that. Neither did Antifa. So it's a red herring.
A, the DOJ has investigations ongoing into that, and B, there's a very, very, very big difference. Frank, I hope you appreciate this, between an effort to disrupt a lawful presidential transition of power and chaos and anarchy, right? Chaos and anarchy are despicable, condemnable. There's a reason why thousands of people were arrested as a result. And frankly, anybody who causes property damage, anybody who seeks to intimidate, local level officials should be thrown in jail. Full stop.
But you just said, there's a DOJ investigation into it, Congressman Meijer. Yeah, there's 4 other investigations into this political commission that you voted for. That's the problem. That's the concern.
But the difference between the two is you don't have 50% of Democrats thinking that, Joe Biden, you still have 50% of Republicans thinking that Donald Trump is the president. You got a lot of folks who sincerely believe that what happened on January 6th was a positive thing, was a patriotic thing, that the traitors were inside the building and it was patriots who were storming it, right? Until we get right between those issues, until we have a consensus on that, or as much as a consensus as is possible, we're in a very bad state, right? The Republican Party, we lost the House in 2018, we lost the presidency in 2020, we lost the Senate in 2021. I want to see us win, and we can't win when we are living in completely different realities here. That is why I think there's an imperative on the Republican side of the aisle to actually have some facts around this matter and to not just keep giving in to grifters and liars and folks who are just...
Hold on, I got to go to break, Congressman Meijer. You're listening to the Live with Ring show. We'll be right back after this.
Good job.
the thick of it. I was asking him about his vote concerning the January 6th commission. He was one of 35 Republicans who voted for this. My concern and others' concern is this is just a completely political maneuver. It is the fifth. It'll be the fifth investigation into this. Is it just a waste of money? And I added, why aren't any of these guys calling for this, some type of commission to look into our cities being burnt down by Biden and Democrat supporters? And again, on George Floyd's anniversary of his death yesterday, they're shooting at George Floyd Square in Minneapolis, and in Portland, they're throwing rocks at a justice center, breaking the windows, and trying to burn it down, or at least throwing these large movable trash cans there, or the big truck ones, on fire. And it's happening all over the place, and it has been, well, in big cities, and it has been happening for a long time. And there should be a commission that looks into that also. There is something that he said last segment that I spoke a little bit with him at break that I wanted to get more clarity, because he said if we didn't do this, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer would do something. Did I state that correctly? We didn't, meaning you guys in the House, didn't agree to this, that there would be as you put, a Benghazi-style commission with no buy-in from the other side, or no bipartisanship in it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so what happened with Benghazi, it was just in the House. It was a House Select Committee, right? It ran for 2.5 years. It had subpoena power. There were, I think, 5 Democrats who joined onto it, but, were basically railroaded the entire time, because it was, let's be honest, it was a partisan exercise, right? That's what Nancy Pelosi wants. She wants an entity that has subpoena power, that can haul people before the House under penalty of perjury, and that won't have any Republican input whatsoever. She wants something without a defined end date, right? The bipartisan commission ends on December 31st, 2021. She wants something she can drag into the 2024 cycle, right? I mean, this is why I am so concerned that if we're just retreating back and worried about the partisanship, we're setting ourselves up for an even worse outcome here, right? If you're just looking at it on that level. Now, you mentioned all these other investigations that are ongoing. They are. A lot of them are very narrowly focused. DOD is investigating why it took the Pentagon so long to react. Department of Justice has their investigations. The FBI has their prosecutions, right? None of these are really looking at the totality of what occurred and trying to come to something that can be objective, and many of them won't actually come out with a public report or something that the public can view. I'm still furious that the Capitol Police have not held a single press conference about January 6th since January 6th.
Well, and also, if I may add to that, Congressman Meijer, they sent that threatening, I believe, blackmail letter to all you guys, and that should be important. I know that you're a freshman.
No, we're looking into that. So that was not an official letter. That was I've heard a couple of different stories, and the letter that you're referring to was basically saying the Capitol Police or members of the Capitol Police. It was sent on letterhead. It was not signed, but it was also not authorized to be sent by Capitol Police, and they're investigating how that occurred. That was imploring members of Congress to vote in support of this.
Right, and
it should not have done that.
And the threat, it's a veiled, right? It's a veiled threat. Like, we're the ones who protect you. I'm really hoping that you guys look into this. And these are the same Capitol Police who are refusing, and I'm glad you said that, to give us any information. Why is it that we know when a police officer shoots someone 30 seconds later, we know their name, their picture, where they went to grade school, what they ate, what kind of juice box they had when they were younger? We have no idea who killed that white woman, the only person killed on January 6th by violence. We have no idea who killed them, and they're keeping that secret. Why is that?
Because of how... No, they shouldn't, right? We should have a fullness that would come out in a larger investigation that looks at things into context that is a little bit harder to manipulate on social media. I mean, look at the police officer who shot the girl who was trying to stab the other girl in Cleveland, right? LeBron James, tweets that out. The guy gets death threats, seconds later. I mean, that is where the politics go, and it's abhorrent. Right? But the broader point here, though, and we're getting into this last time, the broader point is just there are so many different stories, there are so many different threads, there are so many different components to this that I am incredibly frustrated as a member of Congress. I learn more about what happened on that day through Twitter and through journalists than I do from the government.
Oh yeah, there's 14,000 hours. 14,000 hours of video by the government that they are not allowing out. They just allowed the people who ran the impeachment to cherry pick stuff from it, and I'm hoping that you'll get on that. Also, what about, okay, real quickly, and then I want to get to some of the good things you've been doing in the district. What about the fact that oh man, it just slipped out of. Is there anything? Is it no one worried about our cities burning, our cities being under attack, police cars, police stations? You know, insurrection is basically you're against the government authority, and I look at also as you're destroying their property. So if you want to look at it on January 6th as property being destroyed, I get it, but blowing up police cars and precincts and that. Is anybody in Congress thinking about doing anything about this or looking into it?
To me, the most important thing, and you didn't mention this, but it is essentially vital. I mean, look at the rise in homicides in the past year. I mean, we are in 1990 levels, right? The city of Grand Rapids went from 17 homicides in 18 9 homicides in 18 to 19 and 19 to 20 had over close to 30, I think it was 37 homicides, right? These are levels we haven't hit since the early 90s. You have the lawlessness in our cities that have taken advantage of these protests in order to get massive amounts of people and just, destroy police cars, attack law enforcement, destroy property. You have that, and then you just have the more broader breakdown in law and order that we have seen, and I'm sure the lockdowns contributed to it. Like, people's brains are broken, like they're out of work. They're getting paid to stay at home by the federal government right now, which is a massive problem. All of that is contributing to the scenario we're at right now. Now, the challenge here, January 6th was isolated to a single day that was focused on disrupting the constitutional transition of presidential authority with the support and encouragement of the outgoing president, right? That is a fundamentally challenging and dangerous thing to our constitutional system. Also fundamentally challenging and dangerous is that outbreak of lawlessness. But in terms of trying to root down a pinpoint, if there's organized Antifa, round them all up. Right? These are folks who should not be walking free. There were some entities that were disrupted by the DOJ during the Trump administration who were going around, these sort of professional provocateurs from place to place, but they just wanted chaos. I know we're coming up on that minute break, and I want to actually talk about Calhoun County.
Real quickly, because you got 40 seconds. Or you can come back another day.
I will gladly come back another day. Just real quick, we have Sheriff Hinckley on board. I said on Homeland Security and Oversight Committee, we're focusing on the immigration issue. We're down at the border. Obviously, we have some unaccompanied minors who were at the Star Commonwealth facility, and there have been concerns about law enforcement coordination, and also talking to the Burmese population. We're looking at renewed sanctions on Burma in the wake of just obviously the military coup back in February, but just the horrific human rights abuses that have occurred over the past several months. Hundreds of civilians being killed, and really no positive end in sight. So whatever we can do to try to turn that around, we're focused on helping that as well.
All right, hold on real quickly. You're listening to Live with Rink. We'll be right back.
95.3 WBCK.
So, the only thing I can see here is he may consider this insightful. Quote, so we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania. No. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Quote, end quote. So is that inciting? I know, not even telling everybody. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. End quote. I do remember something to the point that Congressman Meijer didn't think that his comments shortly after it happened were strong enough in condemning what was going on. But we'll find out coming up after this next break. I only have one segment with them, guys. I attempted to get two. They gave me one. So I only have probably in the end 10 minutes. So I'm going to ask what I can ask, but I'm also going to allow him to speak as much as he can. So I know there'll be questions out there that you guys think I should have asked. I completely understand that. But I just this 10 minutes, and I'll ask what I can ask, and then I want him to be able to speak to his decision as much as possible. Because, as he put it, and I agree with him, he may have just given up his seat. He may turn out to be a one-term congressman, because there's a lot of people that either didn't like what he did or were very concerned that he made such a rash decision on very little data at all. Yes, I'm sure it was frightening for him if he was in there. But, you are elected to be a leader, too. And we don't want leaders to make emotional decisions on any side. You're listening to the Live with Rank Show, and we'll be right back after this to talk to Congressman Peter Meijer here from the state of Michigan. of the Live with Rank. Let's cut it short because I don't have a lot of time. I want to welcome back to the Live with Rank show Congressman Peter Meijer. Good morning, Congressman, and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Rick. Thank you for having me on.
Well, you had quite a first week there in office, and per your schedule, as we just talked about outbreak, we don't have much time, so let's get right into it. You stated in your Detroit News op piece that President Trump said in his speech that they, quote, before the assault, Trump had addressed the crowd and urged his loyalists to march on the Capitol to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, give them the pride and boldness that they need to take back our country, end quote. Now, what Trump actually said was, quote, I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard, end quote. Then, at the end of his speech, he did say, so we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol, and we're going to try and give the Democrats are hopeless. They're never voting for anything, not even one vote, but we're going to try to give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try to give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. And then I guess let's now, with that basis being put out there, and I believe you mentioned that the reason you voted for the impeachment of the president was due to the announcement, this whatever, however you want to call it. He came out a couple hours later, and he wasn't strong enough in condemning it. You know, why did you end up voting for the impeachment of the president? And this is what I get the most from many people, with no data, no investigation, nothing.
So first on the point, and I appreciate you having me on. I think the last time we talked was the day before the Electoral College certification, where I actually expressed my concern that what was going to happen could turn violent. And I talked to people who were coming out and said, you have every right to march peacefully. You have every right to come out and exercise your First Amendment rights. But please, for the love of God, be careful, because I was concerned about two things. The two lies that were told, that without which we wouldn't have had, the insurrection at the Capitol. We wouldn't have had the Capitol be overrun. There'd be 5 people who are dead right now who would still be alive if two things hadn't happened. One was the president saying that the election on November 3rd had been a landslide victory for him that was stolen. Not that there were concerns about the electoral process, which I share, not that the expansion of absentee ballots created room for fraud, not that there are elements of our system that we need to tighten up, and we need to make sure that what we saw at the TCF Center and that chaos, that doesn't happen again, but that it was a landslide victory that was stolen. That's one. And number two, that January 6th was the day that the steal could be stopped, right? That was hashtag stop the steal. There was a stolen election on November 3rd, and January 6th is the day that we can change it and the day that we can reverse it, right? January 6th was the day that Congress gathers to certify the Electoral College votes, and we can hear objections. And then I have folks who are raising objections. I think we're doing it out of sincerity because they were concerned about electoral process modifications at the state level and the constitutionality of that. But that wasn't the message that was going out. That wasn't the message that the president was amplifying. It was that this is the day that we can stop the steal. That is why they ransacked the Capitol. That is why they sought to disrupt the constitutional process, because there was a day that they believed could change everything, despite there being no statutory or constitutional basis for that, despite, the courts ruling overwhelmingly against, no investigative body with any credibility finding widespread evidence. Like, I'm not arguing on those points around election integrity. I'm arguing that those two elements that the president repeated were why people ransacked the Capitol at the end of the day.
Well,
and if we're going to be a party of law and order, if we're going to be a party of responsibility, we can't look the other way on that.
No, and I don't. Hold on. I don't think we should look the other way. But it's your opinion that those two statements are what incited this riot. And now we find out, no, it was actually being planned prior. The FBI came out and charged a person for planning it going back to January 1st. So certainly some elements of it were planned prior. So that wouldn't have incited them if it did. Here's my concern, and I would love for you to address it. You and other representatives have now set the bar very low for impeachment and elected congressmen and women to be removed from office. So now the bar is, if any politician gives a speech or an appearance, and someone leaves that event and causes damage at a government building or harms anyone from the opposing view or in that government building, the president must be impeached if it's them, and any of you who are elected must be removed for office if it's you guys, because there's no direct connection. The direct connection would have been Trump saying, go to the White House, and he didn't say Capitol, and he wouldn't have said peacefully, and take back our vote. I'd be there with you, Congressman Meijer. I really would.
Frank, I mean, how do you explain, and this is the other thing that I've seen folks trying to backpedal on, is say that this was all BLM and Antifa, and this wasn't Trump supporters, right? And let me preface that by saying, I hate it when these people are just called Trump supporters, because they do not represent, the people who ransacked the Capitol do not represent the vast majority of supporters of the president. But the people who are arrested, the people who are being charged with assaulting law enforcement, who are being charged with vandalizing the federal building, who are being charged with conspiracy, right? There were people who were in there looking to hunt down members of Congress.
How do you know that? Well, that's new. That's new news, breaking news, because
Facebook messages. No, Facebook messages between two of the Oath Keepers who were recently arrested from Ohio. You know, they were, the members of Congress are in the tunnels. Let's turn on the gas. We have to, block them off at the exit.
Okay.
That was in a affidavit that the FBI submitted based on Facebook messages they were exchanging while they were in the Capitol. Right. So, to your point, were there people planning this beforehand? Absolutely. Would they have been planning it were it not for the president saying that January 6th was the day that we can stop this deal and November 3rd was a landslide victory for the president that was stolen? That would not have happened. Right?
Well, maybe that's your opinion, maybe, and maybe it wouldn't have. And when's the last time you've ever heard a politician use hyperbole? You guys use it all the time.
Last time the Capitol was ransacked, Frank, right?
When's the last? Let me ask you this, Congressman Meijer. When's the last time a federal courthouse was under siege for 100 days and was firebombed?
Portland.
Right.
Portland.
When's the last time a police officer's barracks precinct was overtaken and burned down? Those were and those were insurrections.
Yeah. Does this? So we have no responsibility on our side because the left are a bunch of
no.
We engage in political violence.
No, we do have responsibility, and anybody who does these things should be called out. That's why I don't listen to one thing a liberal, someone on the left says, because they never condemned what happened before. I don't care what they have to say.
And they lost at the ballot box in overwhelming numbers at the congressional level in November because of that, right? They were punished for their acceptance of political violence by the voters. I mean, Nancy Pelosi had to be dragged kicking and screaming to condemn the BLM and Antifa riots that led to billions of dollars of property damage, small businesses destroyed, all that. I completely agree.
All right, so what
you had but you earlier said that there was no evidence, there was nothing. Every single member of Congress, like myself, who was in that chamber, stood witness to that.
No. What I meant by that, Congressman Meijer, is there was no evidence yet of who did it. I came out that day and said, I am sure it's all of the above. And it's coming out as all of the above. Now, percentage-wise, who's all of the above, who's more important, I don't even care.
Upwards of 95% of those arrested, were supporters of the president on their social media profiles. Many of them arrested said, I thought this is what the president wanted me to do. This is what we felt.
Okay. All right. So let's use this last 2 minutes, Congressman Meijer, because I know you got to get going to address this. That is what's coming out now. That is not what was known at the time of the impeachment vote. A 3-hour. The last one was 10 days. This one now, you guys trumped that one. No pun intended. 3 hours for an impeachment vote. And that's what a lot of people are concerned about, the speed of which it went down. And with no investigation, no knowledge, no data, almost or very little data at all, other than the experience you guys went through. And I'm sure it was very scary. And I'm sure it was there was a lot of fear that was going on. But we don't want leaders, and this is another thing I hear, making this rash, quick, huge decisions based on emotion. So how would you respond to those people who've emailed me about that?
Oh, I would say that I share the concerns about the speed of the process. But ultimately, if an insurrection at the Capitol, if the intentional violation of the constitutional process, if the president, right, because let's also not forget what he did to the vice president, to Vice President Pence. while the vice president and his family were fleeing from people who were chanting, "Hang Mike Pence," while there had been a gallows erected outside because this whole fiction of a Pence card that the vice president could magically just change the outcome of the election, while that was being propagated, the president was on Twitter attacking him and calling him a coward, right? I mean, the vice president never left the Capitol that day because he didn't want to give the people who were rioting and who were attacking the Capitol, he didn't want to give them the moral victory of seeing him flee. He demonstrated courage. And yet the first thing that the president does is he tweets out a video saying, "We love you, what a great day, but please go home right now." After, dozens of police officers in the hospital, several people have been killed, and the constitutional process had been disrupted.
So you feel at peace with your vote, and we got 1 minute left. You feel at peace with your vote, and you're okay?
We had to get to this point. I hate the fact that I know that I've disappointed people, that individuals feel betrayed. I hate that. This was a vote. When I say it was the worst week of my life, it wasn't because of the attack on the Capitol. It wasn't that I was really afraid. I spent 3 years in Iraq and Afghanistan, right? Worse things could have happened. But it was the fact that we had to get to this point, and we have to send the message that political violence cannot be tolerated. And if we're the party that looks the other way, if we're the party that doesn't stand up for the rule of law and the necessary responsibility taking, then we're done. Right?
All right.
All of the things the president accomplished in the past 4 years, all of that, out the window. Middle East peace deals, revitalized economy, criminal justice reform, right? I mean, highest percentage minority turnout for a Republican in 60 years. This could have been a fantastic legacy, and it was destroyed in 2 hours on January 6th.
All right. Thanks a lot for calling in, Congressman Meijer. Maybe we can get together and talk some more about this or the next steps, okay?
Hey, I'm always here for it.
All right. Have a great day. You listen to Live with Rank. We'll be right back after this.
95.3 WBCK.
1045.
If you own a small business, but maybe you're unaware of new tools that can help your business stand out, go to getlocalcustomersnow.com for a free market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses are doing to find new customers.
Access Vision. Your voice, your community.